Alright guys, so what we have today is we're doing a intercooler upgrade on this 2020 Hyundai Elantra Sport. This one is the 1.6 liter turbo. We've had this car in here a few times doing some other upgrades to it. We've had a couple videos on it. This one, I'll show you here on some of the stuff. You can see it for the factory intercooler. Not a bad setup for a factory one, but still a little bit small. So this one doesn't look too bad to actually take out of here. We already have the underside shield off this one. Obviously, that is over there. You just have a few of these push button clips. You can just get a screwdriver under there, pop those free. You have about 6 10mm bolts that hold that whole shield under here. So you can go ahead and take that off. We will have to take off this kind of air duct for the factory intercooler. The new replacement one will not be using this. New intercooler is a good amount larger and sits forward more, so this isn't as necessary as it is on the factory one. So we'll have to remove this. Looks like we got a total of 4 10mm bolts holding that on, and a couple other screws going down through here. We'll have to go through inside the grill to get to that. Doesn't look too bad though, and they do give us some new intercooler couplings for this one. We will be changing this cold side pipe as well. Biggest difference on that is a little bit of change in diameter, and then your outlet for the vacuum and boost is now changed to one of the lower couplers instead. So we'll see how all that goes and how well it fits. This is the new intercooler setup from Sxth Element Racing. You can see this one will sit quite a bit farther forward, and hopefully it will clear all the other plastics. If so, we might have to do a little bit of trimming because this one is a little bit taller and thicker than the other one, and with it sitting differently. Sitting farther forward, we won't have any real fitment issues, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we have that air diversion shield pulled out of here. There is 2 10mm bolts that go down through here that you can access through inside the bumper there, and then 2 10mm on each side right there. You can push it up, get a little bit of clearance, and pull it straight down out. So pretty damn simple on that. And next we are going to undo the actual couplers at the intercooler side. These ones, the factory ones, have these covers here. You can actually get a screwdriver into there and just pop those off, and then they have a regular hex head on top of those. So when you're seeing that, just pop those off. We'll undo those, and then there is 2 10mm bolts on each side of the intercooler core itself, holding them in. And then we should be able to push this forward and pull it out, hopefully. Alright, now here you get to actually see the real difference between the factory intercooler and the one from Sxth Element. This one is quite a bit taller and a little bit thicker. This one you have a lot more actual core. This one, the tank's about the same thickness, but the core itself is thinner. I'm doing that, and a little bit larger inlet and outlets as well. So this one is a little bit tight getting it out, especially with these brackets on here. But so they are able to wiggle out of there. I did unhook our ambient air temperature sensor. It just clips in right there on the body. Brought that down so I wasn't trying to hook up on the intercooler, pulling it out. But it just has a little squeeze tab and you're able to pull it right off there, so that's not real bad. So now I'm going to see if we can wiggle that new one up in here with the bumper still on. Alright, the new Sxth Element intercooler is officially in the car, and we did not have to pull the bumper. Obviously it would make it a little bit easier wiggling it up in there without the bumper, but for the time you spend taking that off, it's not really worth it in my opinion. We did leave all the Sxth Element protective covering on it during the install, just to make sure that these parts of the bumper don't hit it and lay over any of the fins and make it look ugly. It's a brand new intercooler. Once we're done, we still want it to look like a brand new intercooler. We did have to undo these clips for the wiring harness down here. Those are pretty simple. I just have 2 little push tabs, so we'll go ahead and snap those back in there. That just gives us a little bit more room to fit this larger core up in there. So we can go ahead and snap these back on and reattach our ambient air sensor up in there. And we are on to swapping out this side of the intercooler pipe that they came with. Alright, so the new intercooler is fully mounted in there now. They do give you special bolts that you have to use because the mounts on the new intercooler, they are actually inset. So you have to use the special Allens that they give you. Well, not that special, but different than the factory bolt that went in there. So you have to use those. Like I said, we don't use that shield that goes up here anymore around the factory one, because this intercooler sits quite a bit farther forward than the old one did. And we do have our new cold side pipe on. Like I said, the biggest difference is this one doesn't have the nipple like the factory one does. They incorporate it into the lower coupler on this one actually. So we got all that swapped over. Swap over the bypass valve, swap over the map sensor, run a little bit longer hose for this setup. Still have to do the clamps up top on the throttle body side. But on this one, they didn't send the customer a hot pipe. They picked this system out themselves. And the intercooler itself does have quite a bit larger inlet and outlet, so reusing the factory hot pipe is not usable. So what we have to do on this one to get him by for right now is we're going to make a short coupler to go in between the factory hot side hose, intercooler pipe hose for the hot side on this one. And then later on, when he gets his full hot pipe, we'll just be able to swap all that out. But this is the factory one that was on here. Essentially, we're gonna have to cut it probably right about there, do a short steel coupler in between there, or a union piece, and then couple it up to this. All right, so the install is totally finished. Now just time to put back on the ender shield and take it for a test drive, make sure everything's all right. This one we did have to cut this side factory hose and use a coupler or reducer. This is a 2-inch to a 2 1/4 inch. You could probably go with an 1 7/8 actually. I just wanted to make sure that one fit on it really snug. Don't have any T-bolt clamps here in that size, so I just used 2 worm clamps on it. Anyways, this is just a temporary setup. He is going to make sure he gets the actual replacement hot side pipe. That way all we got to do is just take out this reducer and all this back and replace it with the new upgraded setup. But this will get it going for right now. That's all good to go. Everything's in there and done. Everything's tightened. Like I said, this one is a very simple setup. If you are doing it with the bumper cover still on, just be careful. Watch out for these tabs so they don't hit into the intercooler cores themselves. It's kind of rotated up in there. I had it up in there with this end tank still being over here, and able to just move it past the core support here to get it all set in. So it's a little bit of wiggling and it goes in pretty easy. All the cold side pipe stuff is installed. That all fit very nicely. So let's get this cover back on and we should be done. Alright, so it is all back together and running now. You get a little bit of a shot of the upper side of the cold pipe going through the throttle body here. All the new couplers and everything. All that fits very nice. This is a pretty straightforward install. Like I said, if you're going to be doing this yourself, plan on taking a couple hours. It is very easy to do without pulling the bumper. If you do pull the bumper, you got a lot more stuff you got to worry about doing there. I personally don't think it's worth it. So just do that. Be careful. We kept this intercooler core covered up while we installed it to make sure no damage to the fins. Really doesn't get any simpler than this one. Make sure that you do get the correct hot side pipe, because that is necessary, so you don't have to do an adapter like we did. If there's anything we didn't cover in this video or any questions you have, please go ahead and drop in the comments. And well, thanks for watching.